Hey, I am here. Hello, hello. Look at me. Look like I've been pulled through the hedge backwards. Had a good morning so far. How are you guys doing? It is Chat with Matt. It is the 6th of January, 2021 just. So that's awesome, right? Get some water. Here we are, Chat with Matt, here to shoot the breeze. I think I have. I've read through earlier this morning when I first got up. Some awesome questions were in for today ahead of time, but I am happy to dance with any of you who might have something to add as we progress. So I'll be popping out the top of frame. I'll try and sit a little lower. So I've just got to get myself to the appropriate place on Facebook. As per usual, I come bouncing onto these things the last minute, having been somewhere else. That's the wrong group, Matthew. So, here, Lucille. Here we go. Bright Light Beings. That's the right group for Chat with Matt. Oh, there's an awesome photo. Where was that monarch butterfly hatching out? There's me. Christine. Have a great day, everyone. That was yesterday. How did I miss that? I'm not always so present on Facebook. Anyway, here we go. So I put a little poster up last night. This is an old one again. You can't change the past, but ... you can change your attitude towards it or to it. You have to use short language when you're trying to put words on the photos. So, there's a lot written here, right? It took me a while to read through it all this morning. I'm not the fastest reader, so I am going to try and paraphrase the guts of these questions. I'm just hitting the Seymours now. Seymour. Awesome. Okay, so mouthful of water, let's go. We'll talk to some of these points. Sister Sam wrote in, I love this. Just before I saw your post, I was thinking how different I feel going into this new lockdown. Sam's in, Samantha's in the UK. Compared to how I went into the first one in March. I almost feel like it's the universe giving me an opportunity to see how I've grown. First time round, I almost had a complete meltdown, really feeling lost, watching my business model collapse, feeling like I couldn't support my clients, feeling fear of despair. This time, I feel calm and very purposeful without feeling the need to focus on one specific goal. I also feel ready to show myself and others compassion and patience in what is an ever-changing and chaotic world. Thank you, universe. What a great opportunity to see how 2020 has helped me evolve. So I guess I've changed my attitude or perspective. This is exactly true, right? Hey, good morning, Debbie from Tauranga, the Mount. How are you? So I guess I've changed my attitude or perspective. That's exactly right. So as we change our perspective to a current situation or any situation out there in the external world, our experience of it changes dramatically, right? What was once a bad situation because our attitude towards it was that it's a bad situation can become a good situation just because our attitude towards it changes, even though the situation itself doesn't change. This is how the whole universe works, right? Easier said than done. So anyway, so I guess I've changed my attitude. How do you think you've changed during 2020, Matt Andrews? So what, talk about putting me on the spot. So what have I learned during 2020? I think I have changed during 2020 in that I have relaxed more into how I'm doing quote unquote business, how I'm conducting myself in the world, how much pressure I'm putting on myself to be successful in terms of how I'm showing up. So measuring my success in external statistics like how many people are tuning into whatever I broadcast, how much money I am earning via people wanting to invest in the services that I'm offering. I've let go of a lot of those metrics. And it hasn't been easy, right? Because there's always a certain level of need, right? A certain level of real actual need to be successful enough to support your current lifestyle or a lifestyle that you desire for yourself and your family. So it's never easy to back off and let go of the pressing desire to make sure thing that you are successful enough to sustain your quote-unquote survival. We think it's our survival, but of course, for me to not be surviving here in New Zealand would take quite a dedicated effort to run myself and our assets into the ground, right? So there's plenty of opportunities, right? If I was to completely stop working, we could sell our house and downsize our house, and there's all sorts of ways of quote-unquote surviving. I'm nowhere near the threshold, but in your mentality, that would seem like a huge defeat, and it would almost seem like the perspective would be that that's a huge failure in terms of, and potentially life-threatening. The ego would make that seem life-threatening, that if we were to get ourselves into such a position where we would have to start selling assets or something to survive. And true, in New Zealand with the social system, it would be unlikely to get to that stage anyway, right? If I wasn't earning enough money, I could go to the government and stick my hand out. They would give me a certain amount of money, but, right, the perspectives to the mind, how much do I actually need, and how much can I take my foot off the pedal of trying so hard to make sure, it's this making sure thing, that I'm going to meet goals and please and do the right thing by my family and all the rest of it. So it's been a difficult process for me to relax through the various contractions around having to do well as a facilitator in the ways that that's measured, and to allow myself to, basically eat my own dog food, as old mentor of mine would say, James Kemp would have said, eat your own dog food, right? Which is to practice what you preach, and to allow myself to relax into being rather than to be contracted in my doing, and understand that it's true. This belief that I've been fostering for 5 years now. Hey, brother Jason, I did get that trade on, by the way. It was touch and go, but I got there. I put most of it in, and then the platform said you're not logged in, and I freak. So, but anyway, I got there. Just so you know, just so you know. I kind of lost where I was going then, but the point being is to relax into being myself. That's right. The belief that I've been fostering over many years now, or many years, about 5 years, I've been telling myself consistently that I get paid for being myself. I get paid well by the universe for being myself. So allowing myself to give myself time, invest time in just being myself, and not too contracted around what's the next thing, what should I be doing, right? What should I be doing? What do I have to do now? Should I put on another call? Do I make another offer? Do I, put some ad on Facebook? What do I need to be doing? What do I need to be doing to keep driving attention towards my bigger mission and my sole purpose of spreading the message of Mantara? I've come to a strong realization in 2020 that Matt is still in his apprenticeship. Still in my apprenticeship as a facilitator, not necessarily basically it's true, in the amount of, in the quality and the energy that I transmit, I'm still an apprentice, and also even more so in my ability to do business out here in the 3D world. I'm still very much an apprentice, even though I help a lot of other people take the first steps towards at least getting where I've got to. And actually, I've helped a few people go past me. That's the truth as well, because I'm very good at facilitating, much better than I am at taking action for myself in many ways. That's the joy of being a channel. We can help others much better than we can help ourselves. But anyway, I think that's true of all facilitators. But so in terms of how I think I've changed in 2020, it's relaxing into my beingness and taking the pressure off having to do and having to measure my success, and having to find appreciation for myself based on external metrics. And I am still kind of waiting for the dividends to really flow through from that investment in taking the foot off the gas and devoting more time to other things that we have going on. Like right now, it's summer here in New Zealand. I'm renovating part of the house, as well as, Marie and I are working on yoga retreats and stuff like that, all of which increases our net worth. And, yoga retreats obviously earn us money as well. So that I'm not so contracted, and, making investments in cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. There's also exciting opportunities for allowing income to flow my way. So taking a more balanced approach and not so contracted around needing to make it as a facilitator to prove myself worthy, right? Because I recognize that my achievement status, because I'm not really a high achiever, but I have achieved quite a few things to quite high degrees relative to me, basically, right? Generally, whatever I put my hand to, I do quite a good job of. But that has been driven by a real lack of self-worth and a need to prove myself. I try so hard at everything I've done, whether it's been the film industry, whether it's been building, whether it's been sport, whether it's been academia going back to my younger days, right? It was all driven by my need to prove myself, basically to myself and to everyone around me, that I am good enough, because from a fundamental lack of feeling that I'm good enough, that I've had to try and prove that I am. Now that I'm realizing that that's a vicious cycle that you get caught on, and I'm allowing myself to feel the pain of not feeling good enough in myself, and you don't need to throw me lots of compassion around that or reach out and say, hey, Matt, you really are good enough. I know I'm good enough, right? But it doesn't change the feelings. And there's no point saying, well, the feelings aren't valid, because they're feelings and I'm having them. So while they're not justifiable, they are valid feelings because they're left over from the past. So allowing myself to have the pain of feeling that without trying to beat them off with a stick by achieving things, so not fighting against the feelings that I'm not good enough, but rather coming to what I've been saying a lot this last year, last 2020, is what you are feeling is what you are releasing. And so allowing that mantra to carry me through the pain of feeling not good enough, and not knee-jerk reaction into trying to prove that I am good enough by taking action steps from a space of fear, right, from a space of contraction, from a space of stress, to prove otherwise to the feelings that I'm feeling, which I know are just coming up to release. So not allowing the energies that are coming up to release to railroad me into taking actions to drive myself forward. So allowing myself to find a real drive for my expansive growth as a facilitator from a space of love and from a space of alignment, rather than from a space of fear and not good enough. So that's what I've learned in 2020. And of course, I'm going to continue learning that lesson as I progress. But I have recognized, and I'm willing to state it here publicly, as I just have, that I'm quite appreciative of the progress that I'm making in that realm, and yet still feel huge waves of resistance and pain arise within me, and doubt, of course, that I'm not doing enough, right? I'm not doing enough to move forward. So, awesome. Thanks for the opportunity, Sam. And it's great to hear that you are doing so much better. And I recognize this in the majority of my community, especially the closer community as you are in, right? The transformation and empowerment support community, which I'm thinking of changing the name. I was having a conversation last night with one of my long-standing clients about changing the name to NEST, which is Nurture, Empowered, Support and Transformation, an acronym, NEST, for that support community, which is my sort of low-level $33 New Zealand a month support community. So it might change from the Mantara Transformation Empowerment Support Community, which is a bit of a mouthful, to just the Nest, which is kind of what it is. It's a nest, a place where us chicks grow. All the chicks are growing in the nest. And mummy birds coming along to feed us. Anyway, so thanks, Sam, and well done. Hey, Sister Kelly, am I seeing the comments on my screen? I think I am. I'm just seeing who's joining. Maybe no one's written in anything much yet. I did see Jace put a smiley face on, so I presume it's working. Anyway, Sister Christine Winkett from Auckland said, had a chance to review one of my recent dreams and realized how much I have tried to play down the emotional impact from the past and made a compartmentalized, I can't say that, it without fully accepting it's part of me. There is still the hurt, sadness and fear in me that came up for releasing so strongly that I wasn't sure where they came from. I'm going to accept it for what it is and let it process with time. Awesome, Christine. So this is, pretty much dovetails into what I was saying, and I don't think there was a real question here, but maintaining this allowance for what we're feeling and giving it space and acceptance, and not choosing to having to, put it in a shoebox and put it in the corner to try and keep coping, to keep functioning the way that we think we should, letting go of the shoulds around functionality and what's that other word that starts with P, when we, not progress, not purpose, but whatever, meeting certain obligations. We don't need to maintain that progress anymore, and that functionality. We just need to be ourselves. Hey, Sister Ursula, how are you? So that's awesome. The more that we can relax into the acceptance of what we're feeling and keep remembering it is what we're releasing, then the more easy it is for us to actually let it go, as we give ourselves space to really just be in the moment and trust that the being that we're being is more than enough. That's the kicker. Mary Louise, happy New Year to you, Matt and Marie, and all the bright light beings here in this group. Like Samantha, I too feel different this time around in the lockdown. However, I still feel a deep sense of need to soul cocoon. I gave myself an extra week off so I don't go back to work until next week, but there's still a feeling of deep soul weariness from many lifetimes at a profound level, full stop. And I'm nervous about shifting gears next week and tending to others again, which I love to do, but again, I find it challenging to self-nurture as well. I have been working on this since I last posed the work balance question to you, which I can't remember, to be completely honest, but that's nothing new for me. Is this just personal to me, or are many of us who transmute energy feeling this and possibly needing to step back again right now? Can you speak to the antidote to deep soul weariness? Deep gratitude to you for all your shared wisdom. Okay, so first of all, before I get on to the antidote for soul weariness, no, you're not alone, right? Many of us have been feeling extreme levels of density, which we could call tiredness and weariness. And you could, I understand the term soul weariness, but truly your soul isn't weary. Your soul is actually incredibly excited, but your personality reflection of the depth to which you're feeling this density, I understand the term and I understand why you'd come to the conclusion that it's a soul weariness. I don't perceive that your soul is weary. I perceive that your soul is actually excited. But the thing is with soul excitement at stepping forward into this is it's proliferating this release of the density, right, from many lifetimes, as you quite correctly pointed out. There's many lifetimes of fear and trauma and resistance to actually stepping into who we're going to step into, who we are stepping into right now. Our soul is taking this opportunity to really push forward in a big way into a much more expansive expression of ourselves right now. And in order to achieve that, we're having to transmute a huge amount of energy, both for ourselves personally and for the collective, because the whole collective is going through this upgrade. And so there's a huge amount of density on the surface, which from our, based on the languaging we use to describe our current experience, we quite often tend to call it tiredness or weariness or fatigue, because that's how it feels to us. But if I zoom out on it and I really look in, this is what I have to do in my meditations, right, to get to change my perspective, my attitude towards the experience I'm having, because it's very easy for me to say, I'm friggin' tired right now. And as soon as you say you're tired, it's almost a wrongness. But if I say I'm feeling and transmuting a lot of density right now, that comes with a completely different connotation from my personality self. So rather than saying, oh, I'm tired now, I have to rest, if I say, wow, I'm really feeling and transmuting a lot of density right now, I need to take it easy, then I take it easy without a sense of wrongness that I'm somehow not able to. I'm not able to cope. I'm not able to, I'm somehow letting the team down by feeling tired and having to rest right now. So the languaging that we use in our self-talk and the perspectives that we bring the attitude that we have towards our experience, right? An internal experience of feeling density arise, the attitude we have towards that, it makes a huge difference in how we progress through it. Because taking ourselves off the hook and allowing ourselves to feel density without actually, labeling it as some sort of tiredness or soul weariness, which is somehow looked at as, that I've been worn down. You haven't been worn down at all. You're actually hitting your straps right now. And while the personality is struggling to feel high vibrational at this time, it is actually the high vibrationalness of your being that is inducing this fatigue-like experience, right? This experience of the density that you are currently wading through. So the antidote to seek deep soul weariness is to change your attitude towards it. It's to find acceptance and allowance that we are all transmuting density, and that during such times it is appropriate that we take more time and rest, that we do step back and we don't actually challenge ourselves too much, especially on a personality level, because it's easy for us to go into overwhelm. It's easy for us to have an emotional reaction to things as they unfold when we're in this state where we're already up to our neck in density, right? It's easy for us to, go to here and take a mouthful of SH1T, and that doesn't taste good, and then we get more upset. So when we know we're up to here in transmuting density, it is time to step back, but not from a defeatist point of view. It's not like I need to take myself to bed, life's run me down. It's like honoring the fact that you are doing a fantastic job at transmuting density right now. And while you're at your limit, that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing that you have actually opened yourself up. It's great, Kelly. Awesome. I think we all are, right? I know I'm working on the side of my house, but how much did I get done yesterday? It was ridiculous. The lack of progress in my day, but that's okay. I gave my, I looked at it at the end of the day and I sighed and I went, well, that's been a busy day. And there's a lot of other things going on. I'm answering things. I'm seeing clients as well and in between and this and that and having to organize things. And I had some great breakthroughs yesterday. I got a good price on the decking, which was worrying me because, it's quite expensive what I'm choosing to put down, a premium deck top and the rest of it. So that was good, and I don't like getting on the phone and making phone calls and doing all that stuff. It's not really my deal, but I did it. I phoned about 5 or 6 different suppliers, and I phoned my old friend, a builder, and I got his discount, and I used that, and still it turned out coming from the best price came from an area where I didn't think it would be. So I take that on as a win and honor myself for doing that. But still, I have expectations that I should have got more achieved, right? So it's very easy to have these inflated expectations of what we're capable of right now, but ultimately our value is in what we are being right now, not on what we are doing. So allow yourself to accept and appreciate the beingness that you're bringing to the table right now as a facilitator, and don't make it wrong that you're feeling really tired. If you've got time off work, then generally you're going to feel more tired. You know why? Because if you've got the space to transmute more density, your soul will take that opportunity. I know for myself, that when I don't have anything particularly important on, I go into release phase quite quickly. So one of the antidotes to soul weariness is to actually not give yourself time to do that, but that's not manageable. You can keep burning the candle at both ends and keep busy, doing, being productive and feeling on purpose, which is great. But we need to be willing to balance that out with giving ourselves time to integrate and assimilate and to transmute what is coming up. So if we stay really busy, and especially if it's on purpose busyness, not just trying to fill in our time busyness, but if it's on purpose busyness, then your soul may well prioritize that over the transmuting that is still backing up. And at some stage, you're going to have to catch up with that. So if you give yourself an extra week off going back to your purpose work, then expect that to be a low vibrationary week, at least in your experience of it from your personality self, because you will take the opportunity to clear out. Just like, when you stop eating food, your body takes the opportunity to detoxify. Your body takes that opportunity when you stop eating food because you're not applying energy to digestion. It's the same. When we stop being purposeful out there in the world in our externalities of purpose, right, helping others, then we necessarily go through a detox because we now have capacity for it. And so it might feel like we've slumped. It might feel like we've gone backwards. It might feel like we're having a terrible time. We've made a mistake, or, I'm getting sick, or all of those sorts of projections you can put on it. But basically, it's purposeful. It's purposeful to have time to release energies. Sister Jackie. Try not to miss anyone. Sister Jackie said, we have some interesting times here in the States going on today. Making history, staying peaceful is my desire. Within is interesting and unsettling. Asking myself some questions about my life. Don't really like the position I am in. Going through the dying off process of those around me and myself. My dad has been hospitalized twice in the last month, hoping he is stabilizing. It's all fear of the unknown. I've had a belief that there is no past or future and no problems here in the now. Remaining grateful. I have all this to hold on to. Awesome, Jackie. So yes, definitely holding space for all of us who are having interesting times in our external world and interesting times in our internal world. Of course, they go hand in hand. Many of us are having the experience where we are being shook up in the external world. There is a lot of stuff changing in the external world right now in terms of people and beings leaving. The grief process is very, very big right now. A lot of things are coming to an end, including relationships, including, important people in our lives. That's a hard experience to have for anyone, and it's rife right now. There's a lot of transitions happening, a lot of transformation. I'm not saying your dad's about to die, by the way, but there's a lot of this instability, and there's a lot of this potential going on, and there's a lot of death feeling within us, and there's a lot of that instability. So it's a difficult time to navigate. So please, all of us, we must be willing to maintain compassion for ourselves as we progress through this process, right? Must be willing to maintain compassion for ourselves, to give ourselves that space, to take downtime. And I know you've been doing that, Jackie. You've been working on, your work-life balance, your external obligations and your internal desires. And it's hard. It's hard to, those questions that you're asking are hard to feel good about a lot of the time. It's, our personality, our ego tends to have a negative bias towards the fear-based potentials. When we start asking questions, we can be very critical on ourselves. So asking questions is great, but be very intentional on how you allow yourself to look at the potential answers to those questions. It's great to come to an understanding. I will get to read that in a second, Jill. It's great to come to an understanding that there's aspects that you quote unquote don't like, but allow yourself to dig a little deeper into why you don't like it, because quite often the don't like is a program or an egoic preference that is not actually a good way of judging yourself. So just because you don't like what you're seeing within you doesn't mean that you are wrong. And it doesn't actually mean that what you're seeing inside of you needs to change in a terrible hurry, right? Oh, I don't like this, what I'm seeing in myself. That's a great awareness, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to take firm action to change it necessarily. So notifications coming up of my next session. Which I'm looking forward to because it's with a long-term client again. It's awesome when you have your long-term clients showing up. I love seeing new clients too. So if you're thinking of coming to, booking a session, then please do. But I also really, one thing, I said at the start, I need my apprenticeship, but, I've been doing this for 5.25 years now, online facilitating. And, I love seeing some of my clients that I've been seeing for over 5 years now still coming along and catching up and, just watching their progress is just so awesome. Developing relationships is what's the best thing about this business, in my opinion, right? I know a lot of facilitators don't really create relationships with their clients, but I do. I love it. I love it. I'm not one to stay removed and stay like the therapist. They're friends. They're always friends. Every client of mine is a friend. If someone comes along who I can't be friends with, they're not a client. That's how it goes. I can't use my finger to get rid of that. I have to use my cursor. So anyway, Jackie, it is all fear of the unknown. It is all fear of the unknown. So allow yourself to compassionately move through this experience. Allow yourself to have your awarenesses. Allow yourself to delve into these questions, but choose to maintain a very compassionate and expansive attitude to the answers that are arising and the impetuses that you are feeling, the things that you want to change, the things that you're experimenting with. Allow it all to be an experimentation without needing to get it right. This is the hard thing with our lives. We think that if we crack the code and get everything right, then life will be easy and peaceful and joyful. And that's just not the case, right? It's not the case that we need to get our external life in order for us to be happy, peaceful, and successful. Happiness is a choice. Peacefulness is a choice, and believe it or not, success is a choice, because it all comes down to what attitude, what expectations you are holding, right? What perspective you are holding towards yourself. When you make yourself a success based on the beingness that you're bringing into the world, then you already can be very peaceful, happy, and successful in yourself right now. And from there, from having chosen to align with those vibrations, then the external world can more easily morph into a reflection of what you have chosen to be, rather than trying to put the cart before the horse and try to manipulate or fix your external world so it gives you the situations you think you need in order to be peaceful, happy, and successful, and any other word you want to add in there, right? So I know that's really hard, because our whole education and the whole world is geared around thinking that we need to do in the external world to fix everything so that we can have our happiness. But it's a great, massive, big conspiracy, because it keeps us all on the wheel of consumerism or doingness, not necessarily just, consumerism, but all sorts of doingness, trying to fix the world, and we'll never have our happiness that way. So allow yourself to inquire through this process and trust that it's all unfolding for you in the best way. I'm running out of time. Hey, Sister Carolyn. So I'm just going to flip up here and see if I can find what Jill wrote in. My late father sent me a car-based message yesterday on how to progress through this dense stuff. He said to remember how to drive a car through floodwater, change down to a lower gear to allow for gentle movement, but don't stop. Keep the foot on the accelerator so that the floodwater doesn't rush up the exhaust and kill the engine. Exactly. That's an awesome analogy, and it's awesome that you got that message from your late father. Awesome that you like the name Nest, Ursula. I didn't see that pop through. Especially, yes, that's right, because Ursula's an awesome facilitator, coach, transformational coach, who calls herself Mama Bird. So Mama Bird for transformation likes the idea of Nest, so she's feeling very at home. Maybe she's a cuckoo. She's going to take over my nest. You can have a nest too, Ursula. I don't own the term. I didn't even come up with it. It came from Sister Sylvie, to be perfectly honest. Anyways. But that's awesome. So yes, we change down to a lower gear so that we're not trying to do too much, but at the same time we've got our foot on the accelerator so that we keep our engines turning, so that we keep a positive flow of vibration through us. So allow yourself to keep breathing, allow yourself to look after your practices, but allow yourself to change into a lower gear, which basically means let your expectation of your top speed come down a level or two, right? So we don't need to be driving at 80 mile an hour here. We can be very comfortably driving at 30 mile an hour. So put your car back into third, But keep the revs up, right? Keep your practices going. Keep yourself sustained. Look after yourself, right? So that the water doesn't rush up your freaking tailpipe. Ooh, because we don't want that, right? We don't want the water rushing up our tailpipe, and that's exactly what we feel when we're up to our neck in the muck right now, in the fear-based soup of society. We do feel quite vulnerable. So we do need to keep our engine revving. It's not time to totally, as Mary Louise was saying, I feel the need to cocoon. Yes, cocoon, take it easy, but don't let go of the practices that sustain you. Awesome, Joe. You are quite welcome to watch the replay after your was it daughter or granddaughter? After your daughter. Sorry, I don't remember ages and stuff of people. I have to read my daughter a good night story now. Have a great session. I'll catch up with you soon. Yeah, awesome, Joe. Yeah, and if you plow too fast into the water, Jill, it's you're likely to aquaplane, or lose control of your car or whatever, or bend the front of it up, or push the water up and into the radiator. You can do some damage. So yeah, keep the revs on, but keep the speed manageable, and that's exactly where we are in our external world right now. We want to keep the revs on. We want to keep our light flowing through us. But we just need to let go of the expectations of how fast we should be going, right? So that we're more manageable, more controllable, and more likely to make adjustments and accommodations as the ever-changing landscape of our external world continues to do what it's doing, which is be unpredictable and chaotic right now. So we make allowances for the fact that we can't see in the water. There could be potholes, so we don't want to be going too fast. There could be deviations that we need to take, but we do want to keep our revs on. So awesome analogy. We can run with that for a while, but we're not going to, because I'm running out of time and I've got to get onto my next session, and I need to fill my water bottle up and do a few other things in between. Fill one water bottle up and empty one other vessel as we do between sessions. So, my friends, much love to you. Welcome. I didn't really say it. This is the first chat with Matt, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it is, because it's only the 6th of January. So, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2021. Please, I did want to mention, please be on guard that there's likely to be a bit of a despair slump as people start to realize, particularly in another week or two's time, as the new year excitement sort of dwindles and people realize that we're still actually in the shit of 2020. Nothing's really changed other than a digit on the end of the date. So just be aware that there potentially could be quite a wave of despair energy, hopeless energy, depression energy flow through next week or the week after, or it might even start earlier than that, especially with all of these, COVID goings on. But, at the moment, I still feel there's quite a buoyancy, like just as Sam was saying, we're going into this lockdown. I think a lot of people are feeling, for the UK and anyways, going into lockdown, we're not doing anything like that here in New Zealand yet. I'm not taking that potential off the table though. I'm not going into that right now. But a lot of people are feeling a lot more confident in themselves and a lot more confident in their ability to manage the turbulent times. But just be aware that there might be a bit of despair energy come up in the next couple of weeks. So just if you do start feeling that, trust that it's more of a collective thing than you failing in yourself, right? What you're feeling is what you're releasing, and many of us in this group, in this community, are called to release for the whole of society, not just for ourselves. Sister Emily Rose, much love to you. Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about the tub of Pringles, Jill. I tend not to allow shit like that to come into the house. Pringles is not high on my list of edible food, although, I ate half a packet of organic corn chips last night, but they're those beautiful blue ones that I'm quite partial to, especially with hummus. They're not so bad for you, but they're still salty and snacky, and sometimes it's good to have that sort of stuff. We don't need to live like a monk. We don't need to live like a disciplined whatever. Comfort food is good, but again, we can be mindful of how we choose our comfort food. And for me personally, trying to avoid all the numbers and shit and preservatives, well, not so much preservatives, but numbers and shit, stabilizers and stuff that come on a packet of Pringles. I don't know if you've looked in there, the tub of Pringles, but yeah, they're not potato chips by any stretch of the imagination. They're a bit of a cocktail. Anyway, just putting it out there, we can make choices, right? We can make choices. You can get the same effect from things that are not as bad. That's, and it's a matter of degrees with everything, right? It's a matter of degrees, and the progress forward needs to happen in small steps. It's not that we should take all junk food out of our life, junk food, right? All comfort food, all packet food out of our lives. That's a very hard thing to do for most of us, but we can make more conscious choices about what ones we buy and what ones we don't. Which then allows us to still have the treat and the emotional support, the salty hit, if that's what we need, without potentially ladening our body with so much stuff that we have to deal with afterwards. So yeah, it's all about degrees. You can still have cake, but try and get a cake that's made with fresher ingredients than a cake that's made with, a long-lasting cake that's full of crap, basically. Anyway, my friends, a little bit of wisdom from Matt. That's the way I tend to do life, and it's all a matter of making the choices when you're in the shops. That's the one, because once it's in the cupboard, it's in the cupboard. It's very unlikely to go in the bin, although it might. I've been known to throw things in the bin that someone else has bought into the house. Anyway, my friends, much love to you all. I will speak to you again next week, same time, same place. I think we have new moon between now and then. Let me just check when new moon is. I don't think I'm going to do a call for new moon because I just did a call for full moon and I'm still recovering from that. But you never know. I didn't think I was going to do the call for the full moon, and yet I had my arm twisted. No, the new moon happens after Chat with Matt next week. So Chat with Matt's on at 9 a.m. my time, and then at around 5:45 p.m. it will be new moon. So awesome. This next week will be, as we tail towards next Chat with Matt, there'll be potentially quite a bit of comings up of old endings in preparation for a new beginning. The first new moon of the year is quite an awesome opportunity. I'm not sure if this is Chinese New Year, this new moon. I should look that up because quite often it is the first new moon of our calendar year is Chinese New Moon, Chinese New Year, but I'm not sure about that. I get shit like that wrong all the time. But anyways, maybe I will do a call. I'll feel into that. I know I've gone to the trouble of marking on my Google calendars all of the new moons and all of the full moons when they happen so that I see those opportunities, and then I'll inquire as to whether it's something that we want to engage in. And we'll see, we might do a free call around that as well. I am not intending to make it that Matt does 2 free calls every month, but you never know. That's not my intention. It's not my personal intention. But it may happen. Yeah, it quite possibly could be the next new moon in February for Chinese New Year. Awesome, Emily Rose, you have a great day too. Much love to you all. I am going to say goodbye for the 3rd time. I will speak to you next week, if not before. Much love. Bye for now. Finish button.